everyone, and welcome back to our channel. So today we will learn how to monitor .NET app logs using Elasticsearch. So as you know, monitoring is an important part, and with Elasticsearch, developers can collect, store, and analyze and monitor these logs in real time. So this will help to identify the issues quickly and understand how the application is performing. So today we will learn how to set up Elasticsearch, which includes Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana on an Ubuntu server and connect it to a .NET application using Verilog. And we will also create a simple API endpoints that generate logs for testing the setup. So first, let's see the prerequisites. You should have AWS account with Ubuntu 24.04 EC2 instance up and running. Then you should have at least 2 CPU cores and 4 GB of RAM for smooth performance, and also Java and .NET SDK installed in your system. So let's move on with the practical. Our first step is setting up Ubuntu EC2 instance. So first, let's update the package list to ensure that you have the latest versions. Now next, let's install the OpenJDK 70 because Elasticsearch requires Java. So we will install it. So now Java is also installed in our system. Next, we will install .NET SDK. It is necessary for developing and running the .NET applications. Now, .NET SDK is also installed. Our next step is install and configure Elasticsearch. So first, we will import the Elasticsearch GPG. Then add the Elasticsearch repository. Now let's update the package list again. The repository is added to the system package sources. Now next, we will install the Elasticsearch. Just wait a moment until it installs. Okay. So now it's installed. Next, we will modify the Elasticsearch configuration for remote access. Here, scroll down, and in the network section, uncomment the network host and change it to 0.0.0.0 to bind it to all available IP addresses. And then we will also implement the discovery section. Here you can specify the initial node for cluster formation. Implement it, and I will just keep the bracket empty here. Then next, for this basic setup, we will disable the security features. So change the expect.security.enable from true to false. So the configuration. Now next, we will enable the Elasticsearch. After enabling it, let's start the Elasticsearch. Just wait a minute. Okay, so now it started. Now let's verify it by checking its status. So as you can see, our Elasticsearch is active and running. Now next, let's send a GET request to check if Elasticsearch is running and responding. And if this request is successful, you should see the JSON response with cluster information, just like this one. You can see our cluster name, their IP address, and also version of the Elasticsearch which we have installed is 8.17.4, and also other information. Now our next step is install and configure Logstash. So let's install the Logstash first. The Logstash will process the logs before sending them to Elasticsearch. So we will install it also. Now next, we will create a Logstash pipeline config that listens to incoming HTTP log events. So let's create a .NET.conf file. Okay. Now let's add this code into our file. Just copy it and paste it in. This will collect logs from .NET application, parse them and send them to Elasticsearch. So first, there is input log. It sets up an HTTP endpoint for receiving logs. Here, port 5000. Logstash listens to incoming logs on this port. Then codec JSON. This tells Logstash to expect and decode the incoming data as JSON. Then we have filter block here. The first here is JSON filter. This passes the JSON string inside the message field. Then the date. This one passes the timestamp. Then you get filter. This renames the fields to more readable and meaningful ones like this @L to label, then @N message, @T log timestamp and source context, log your name, and add field adds the custom field application Kibana login demo or easier filtering in Kibana, and remove fields deletes the metadata field not read in Elasticsearch, and uppercase converts the lock labels like info want to uppercase. Then lastly, there is output block. This sends the process log to Elasticsearch and uses the daily index pattern like Logstash and then year, month, and date here. So let's save the configuration. Let's enable the Logstash. After enabling it, we will start it. Then we will confirm if it started or not by checking the Logstash status. So it started successfully. Now our next step is install and configure Kibana. So first, let's install Kibana. It may take some time. So I will just pause the video here. Now our Kibana is also installed. Next, we will open the Kibana configuration file for editing. So here, inside the Kibana server, uncomment the server port and also uncomment server.host and change it to 0.0.0.0 from localhost to bind it to all available IP addresses. And also scroll down and uncomment the Elasticsearch.host to connect it to Elasticsearch. Now let's save the configuration. Let's enable the Kibana. Start it. Then let's verify if it's running or not. So as you can see, our Kibana is active and running. Now our next step is configure .NET application login. So first we will create a simple .NET Core Web API project to demonstrate login. For that we will use command .NET new Web API -n, and this is our application name. You can leave any name you want. Now our ELK login demo is created. So let's navigate to the root project directory. Okay, so now we are inside it. Now first we will add the Verilog and or login dependencies. So let's copy this packages and add them. These packages enable the Verilog to send the logs to the console, Elasticsearch, and over the HTTP to Logstash. So we will make them. So now, next let's open the program.cs file. We will replace its content. So it's a big one. I just remove the file and create a new one. So now let's copy this code and paste it inside our file. So here first we have some namespaces. This brings in the necessary namespaces for globalization, for formatting, and also ASP.NET Core MVC attributes. The most important Serial login and HTTP Elasticsearch things for Serial and also hosting support here. The next is Serial configuration. The, yeah, the minimum level dot information. This captures the logs from information and above, and dot enrich dot from log context adds the context data like request ID. Then dot write to dot console outputs logs to terminal or to console. Then dot write to HTTP. This sends logs to Logstash instance, which is listening on port 5000 via HTTP. Then dot write to Elasticsearch. This sends logs directly to Elasticsearch. Here the index format creates daily indexes, Logstash, and auto register template. This automatically registers the index mapping in Elasticsearch. Then this one uses the serial organized logging provider. This integrates the ad services to the content. Sorry, right? I'll just remove it. This one adds services to the container, like add controllers, add endpoints, API Explorer, add Swagger gen. Then it sets up the MVC controller and Swagger for API documentation. And the Swagger UI here is enabled only in the development mode. You can see here, the Swagger UI is only enabled in development mode. Then we have our roll dice application code written here. This defines the lightweight get it point at roll dice player. It accepts an optional parameter and logs who roll the dice and the result here and returns the dice result in string format. So if anonymous player roll the dice, then it will return message anonymous player is rolling the dice and the result. And if you give the player name like John, then it will return John is rolling the dice and result. Or instead of John, you have given any player name. Then lastly, it logs the startup message like application starting up, roll dice endpoint, and runs starts the application. So let's save the file. Now next, this is optional since we have configured serial of import, but you can also define it in at setting.json file. So let's open this file and modify it. I'll just remove its content. Copy this one and add it inside our file. So here, first we have login section. This sets the log level for built-in .NET Core login system. The default information, log information and about, and Microsoft.sp netcore warning reduces the noise from framework logs. Allowed host here accepts the request from any host used primarily for security in production environment, and here star allows all. Then Serilog configures for Serilog, which is a powerful .NET logging library. You know, here using configure for Serilog using tell Serilog which things are being used, which is console logs to terminal and Elasticsearch, which sends log to an Elasticsearch cluster. The minimum level controls the log verbosity. The default information, as you know, and override suppress the verbose log from Microsoft and system. Then there's write to section written here. This sends the output for Serilog. Console sends log to the terminal and Elasticsearch sync is here. The node URIs is the location of the Elasticsearch cluster, which is http://localhost 9200, which is the default port for Elasticsearch. Then index format, Logstash, then your year, month and day, and auto register template allows Verilog to create an index mapping template, and template name, which is .NET logs template. Here the enrich from log context adds the contextual properties like request ID, user info to each log entry, and properties adds the static properties to every log. And in this case, application Kibana login demo, we will see it in the logs. So let's save the file. Then next we will create a controllers directory. Then we will create a controller to simulate the different log levels and errors. And let's add this code. Again, we have here the namespaces and imports. The Microsoft.ASP network.mvc provides the attributes and types for defining web API endpoints, and Microsoft extension.login allows dependency injection of the iLogger interface. Then we have namespace ELK login demo dot controllers. So this is the custom namespace for this app, which indicates it's part of ELK login demo. Then we have control setup written here.
First is the API controller. This enables automatic model validation, and route controller sets the base route to slash login. Then there is also constructor injection. Is sets an instance of a logger login controller. As you can see, logger login controller underscore logger via constructor, and this logger can be configured to send logs to console, Elasticsearch, or anything supported by Serilog or default logger. Then there's get slash login sends the three log entries: log, warning, and error. This is the information log message. This is the warning log message, and this is the error log message. And it sends the HTTP 200 with a simple message, which is logs generated successfully. The timestamp. This is the timestamp. Then the text exception. This simulates an unhandled exception, catches it, and logs it as a error with exception details, and it will return some HTTP 500 with an exception message, like an exception occurs in test exception, and stack trace in the response. So let's save this file. Now our next step is run and test the app. So let's build the .NET application first. Now next, let's run the application using .NET run command. Okay. So now our application is running. Let's open the duplicate tab. First, note down it's running on http ://localhost 5222 Let me just clear this up. First, then http ://localhost 5222. Let's confirm it again. Port number. Now let's try to access the application. So first, slash roll dice. Then we will give a clear name like John. So here you can see it has rolled the dice and given as output 5. Let's go to the console. You can see the output here generated. John is rolling the dice and the output 5, and HTTP gets rolled dice John responded. So now let's visualize the .NET app logs in Kibana. So go to your EC2 instance and copy the public IP address. Paste it inside the URL and enter the Kibana port, which is 5601. click on explore on my own. So this is your Kibana welcome homepage dashboard of the scroll down, and in the management go to stack management, scroll down and go to data views, click on create data view. Now here enter the index pattern and Logstash, which is using our configuration file, and you can give the name file just give .net, sorry, dot net logs. Now click on start dot save data view to Kibana. Now scroll down, go to this menu and scroll down. In the observability section, go to the logs. Here there are all logs. So click on it here and go to data views and select our data view which we have created, .NET logs. Now, keep it here. So here you can see the logs which are generated. Let's scroll down and you can see the John is rolling the dice file, and also the get response generated. So here the first top 7 logs you are seeing here are tagged with application Kibana login demo, as you can see here, which are formatted by Logstash and come by Verilog, HTTP, then to Logstash and to Elasticsearch. And below 7 logs are the .NET app logs. This contain your app logs, apps internal login info, and raw messages like the request finished, executed endpoint, and all this. John is running right. These are all application logs from request starting. These below 7 ones. They are emitted by .NET Core middleware or controllers. You can just also see the more info here. John is rolling the dice fine. And even if you don't give the name, it will work. Just I'll just show you, but no the name. And it will just write anonymous player is rolling the dice. So the output is 3. As you can see, anonymous player is rolling the dice and output 3. And can one verify? Yeah, right here. Anonymous player is rolling the dice. So these application logs are also here, and the logs which are formatted by Logstash are also present here. So today we have seen about monitoring .NET app logs using Elasticsearch, and with the Elasticsearch and serial log integration, monitoring this application became easy and powerful, and you can even collect logs and search through them and visualize the patterns or errors using the Kibana, as you can see here. And this setup helps in debugging, improving performance, and understanding the user behavior. And it also flexible and can be scaled as your application grows. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you.